Hi, and welcome back to our kitchen. We're here in Arizona, and we are doing another week of baking. This is gonna be the best recipe yet so far, I think. And I think you all are going to think so too, because it is flourless, meaning we are using no flour. I went out to the grocery store this week to buy my weekly goods, and I got everything that I was going to use for the recipe today. I made sure to see if I could find it and see if it was plentiful. And I was able to find everything, at least on my grocery stores here in Arizona. Hopefully you can find these things too. So Ridge and I are making for you peanut butter cookies. And these peanut butter cookies have chocolate chips in them, and they are made with absolutely no flour. I'm also going to show you, after we make this recipe, a couple of variations that you can do at home if you have allergies or if you can't find something in your local grocery store. So I'm gonna start off with just the basic recipe, and it's very, very easy. Ridge and I have both washed our hands. We've cleaned up our counter space. All of our equipment is clean and ready to go. And the first thing that we're going to do is measure out our peanut butter. And if you're like me, measuring out peanut butter is the one thing that keeps me from making peanut butter cookies. I love them, but I hate measuring out sticky ingredients. So I did a little bit of research, and I found that you can microwave your peanut butter so that it is pourable. So Ridge is gonna hold my 1 cup measuring cup, and we're gonna measure out 1 cup of peanut butter. You can do this in a liquid or a dry measuring cup. I've seen both. And look at this. I mean, this is amazing to me how easy this is. Go ahead and pour that right in. I was a little bit concerned when I first started practicing this recipe that pouring the peanut butter was going to have an effect on the overall taste after, or that it might not solidify the same way that regular non-microwaved peanut butter does. But really, I found that there was no difference. Once I started adding in the ingredients, the peanut butter cools down really nicely. And see, with a spatula, you can pretty much get everything out of your measuring cup. Good job, Ridge. So now we are going, oh, Mr. Ridge, you're touching your face. What do you need to go do? Wash your hands. With little ones, it's one of those things. Sometimes they've got to wash their hands 5 or 6 times during our recipe. While he's gone, I'm going to measure out our sugar. We are measuring out 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. I only have a 1/4 cup measuring cup. Some sets do come with a 3/4 cup. If yours does, that's great. Mine doesn't, so we're going to measure this out 3 different times. And we're going to really pack this down. We're going to push all the way in so that when we shake it out, it kind of makes a little block. And I'm going to do that once, twice, and a 3rd time. Welcome back, Mr. Ridge. All right. So there is 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Now we get to stir. So Ridge, you're gonna take our spatula and you're gonna mix these 2 ingredients together. While he's mixing, I am going to measure out our baking soda. So baking soda is a pretty important ingredient in this. There's only a 1/2 teaspoon, but you wanna make sure that you're actively putting it in. It is gonna help with a little bit of the shape of your end cookie. Nice job, Ridge. We're gonna do a pinch of salt, and I'm gonna take over and let Ridge do this. Kids are great pinchers, so Ridge, what I want you to just do is take a little handful of salt with all of your fingers and toss it right in here. Yeah, just take, yep, just a nice little pinch. Add that right in. Sprinkle it in, make sure you mix it all. Good job. If you're using peanut butter that does have salt in it, you may want to be a little light on your pinch. I've tried with both, and I didn't really notice a difference. I really do like a sort of salty cookie. I'm okay with sweet and salty together. But if you're not, you can leave it out, or you can just do a very light pinch. So as you can see, our peanut butter and sugar is coming together. It's looking really nice. We are now ready to add our last 3 ingredients. I told you it was really that easy. So we've got an egg. We're gonna crack that in there. We have some vanilla, and we're gonna measure out a full teaspoon of vanilla. So Ridge, you wanna pour? Vanilla is one of those things that you can never really have too much of, so I'm gonna let him give it a try. Just pour real carefully. Once it's totally full, perfect. And now we mix one more time. So Ridge, I'm gonna break this egg and just kind of get it mixing up. And then I'm gonna have you take over again. And you're just gonna stir everything together. While he is stirring, is it getting kind of hard? That peanut butter is starting to solidify. It's starting to get cooled down because we've put a cold egg in there. My bowl was pretty cool. And so it is getting harder and harder. Just keep that in there and just keep going. You just gotta stir like this. Really get in there with your hands. Here you go. Would you rather have me stir and you wanna add in the chocolate chips? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So Ridge is gonna add in the chocolate chips. You're gonna take these and this, okay? One hand on these and one hand on this. Don't worry about it if it's sticky. Hold this. Now you're just gonna shake the chocolate chips until that measuring cup is full, but make sure you do it over the bowl, so if you lose any chocolate chips, they're going into our cookies. I've never heard anybody complain about having too many chocolate chips in cookies. Go ahead and fill it all the way up. That's perfect right there. I did pretty well on measuring that by eye. Go ahead and dump those in. Nice. We are almost done with this recipe, and then I'm gonna talk to you about some of those modifications. So when you notice you're gonna add in those chocolate chips, it's really going to start to come together and actually look more like a cookie dough. Up until now, it's sort of not really looked like cookie dough, but for whatever reason, putting in those chocolate chips just makes it look quite about perfect. All right. We are now ready to put these cookies onto our cookie sheet and bake them. So you want to use either a cookie scoop if you have it. Ideally, you have a cookie scoop that's something like this. If you don't have one of these, you can use 2 spoons, but this is a very sticky cookie recipe. So when you're doing these, a cookie scoop really does help. And what I like to do is I fill up my cookie scoop and make sure that I'm pressing it against the side so that it's totally full. We're gonna take it and just put it right down on our little sheet tray here. I've got my sheet tray covered in parchment paper. So put it down right here, Ridge, and just squeeze. There you go. If it doesn't land in the right spot, that's okay. You can pick these up and move them. They are going to be solid enough to do that. There you go. And after you finish, you either want to use your spatula or you can use a fork. I did 2 different variations here, and these are actually 2 different recipes of cookies that I'm gonna be talking about. You can do the traditional fork on your peanut butter cookies and get nice little markings, or you can just choose to flatten them out. The other thing I recommend before you bake these is they turn out really nicely if you chill them. So if you're going to chill them, my recommendation is to flatten them out a little bit. I like to just use the back of my spatula. You can do that, Rich. You're gonna flatten them all out, put them in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. After 30 minutes is up, you can take them right out of the refrigerator and bake them immediately. This is just gonna help make your cookie a little bit more dense and chewy. It makes it so that the cookie doesn't fall apart quite as easily. I really, really like it that way. If you like more of a flaky cookie, you can bake them immediately for sure. This recipe also does freeze really nicely. So you can freeze the cookie dough. All right. One more for me, Ridge. And then you flatten those out. The rest of this you could bake on a separate cookie sheet. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about my trials here. So I told you that I was going to give you some allergy friendly and maybe just ingredient friendly modifications that you can make. These are also going to be in the comment section, so if you missed this section or you'd like a little bit more detail on how to do these recipes, they're going to be available for you. So my traditional recipe looks like this. This is what it looks like after it is chilled. This is what it looks like before. So pretty similar. This cookie holds together just a little bit better, I think, and it has a really nice, chewy, decadent center. The first modification I did was actually 100% of the top 8 allergy free. So I used sun butter, which is one of my favorite recipe modifications when I'm doing something that is peanut free. And I actually did 2 different egg substitutes. So the most popular baking egg substitutes I could find were something called Aquafaba, which is actually the liquid that comes in the can with your chickpeas, and applesauce. And both of those turned out really, really nicely. So this one here is my sun butter and Aquafaba cookie. And I did use a chocolate chip that is also gluten, dairy, soy, and pretty much everything else free. And this cookie here is really, really nice. This to me looks more like a traditional chocolate chip cookie, and these ones actually were Ridge's favorite, and you can go ahead and eat that. This one here is the applesauce cookie, looks very similar. This again was made with sun butter instead of peanut butter, and to replace the egg, I used 1/4 cup of applesauce. If you're doing Aquafaba, 1 egg is about 3 tablespoons. And then I did just an egg-free recipe, and this was my favorite. So I chose to do a regular peanut-based recipe. I still used no flour, so it's gluten-free, and I used the gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free chocolate chips. This, I substituted the egg with the 1/4 cup of applesauce, and it was really by far my favorite. The way that it turned out was just super chewy, super dense and delicious, and I have definitely been enjoying them with my family. I hope that you all bake these. Again, you know, we hear you. We hear that you're lacking flour out there. You can still do baking. You can still bake with your kids. I hope that you bake this recipe and let me know how it goes. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you later. Say bye, Ridge. He's too busy eating his cookie, but we'll see you later.